Hey everybody, welcome back to the Average Joe's podcast with Holton and Eric. I'm Holton.
And I'm Eric.
We're the Average Joes. So today, we're going to be going into something that me and Eric are very passionate about, the bodybuilding aspect of it. We're going to be comparing the difference between the golden era of bodybuilding, which is the late 60s through the 1980s, and the modern era of bodybuilding, which is, what would you probably say, like 90s to now? Maybe late 90s?
I think the 90s are more of the silver era.
Yeah.
To maybe early 2000s. Modern, we can say from like 2010s to now, maybe. I mean, because we are halfway through this decade. It's 2025.
I would almost even say that we could say, put it into three eras at this point.
Yeah.
Go from like 1990 to like 2010, and then 2010 to now.
Yeah.
Because of like, now it's getting into more of like the science-based lifting and stuff.
Yeah, a lot more science-based for sure.
So starting off, going into like the basics of it, right? So it's like the golden era of bodybuilding has guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Frank Zane, Franco Columbu.
Yeah, Franco Columbu. That's my goat.
Yeah.
Short kings.
Yes.
What's the middle era? What's it called?
Silver era.
Silver
again,
eras.
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Basically, in the 90s and thousands was more when that was going on. I mean, the thousands, yes, we had the mass monster era. The 90s, honestly, I would argue started like maybe in the mid 80s with that. I mean, I think people kind of have differing opinions. When I think golden era, I always think 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And like the cutoff is kind of like early 80s, maybe. And then teetering towards the end of the 80s, you get more of the silver era. Things started to change a little bit. I mean, it's just like with culture of anything, clothing, music, movies, and all that. So this just started shifting a little bit in ideology and training philosophies and everything.
Yeah. So the difference in the eras really comes down to the training philosophies, the culture in the gym, and really what the aesthetics you're going for. So it's like the 1960s and the 1970s, people were a lot slimmer.
Yeah.
They had more athletic looking physiques.
Greek god physiques.
Yes, Greek god look physiques.
More what they had, for sure.
The training style, you probably know more about this than I do, but tell me a little bit more about their training style.
Well, yeah, like Arnold, for example, I've read his book, Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. Always get that title mixed up. I've read that book good amount, and Arnold, for instance, really liked to, well, quote unquote, basically overtrain. He liked being, felt like he overtrained because he would say he always work out twice a day, in the morning and night, and basically do that 5-6 days a week, having Sunday off, or sometimes even go 7 days a week. But it's a little bit different when you're dealing with the steroids and things like that. But he liked that approach. Did a lot of volume. I mean, for his chest workouts, it was insane how many things he would do for his chest workouts as far as like what exercises, like the amount of exercises. And obviously, things change towards competition. You're doing more of higher reps to get that more definition and the vascularity of things. But overall, the general consensus is trying to get the V taper look more aesthetic. The strength does matter, don't get me wrong, but it's not like nowadays where, it's more about the mass monster and how big can you get, like how big can you get your quads, how big can you get your chest, how big can you get your delts, things like that. So golden era was more like the utmost importance was the aesthetic. Like they wanted to look good, they wanted to look a certain way. Posing was very, very important. Not that it isn't nowadays, but I feel like they really, really took that seriously. I mean, like Arnold even took, if you ever seen Pumping Iron, there's the scene with him and Franco going to the ballerina class. Yeah. And then she's teaching him how to like be more elegant when he's posing and like, there's a whole, tactics they can go into with the posing of things. But yes, more of the V taper is what they were chasing after, and the aesthetics. And nowadays, I mean, I'll let you talk about the nowadays. So I've talked about the golden era.
So like a big part of like nowadays training is like the science-based lifting behind it. So it's like doing optimal movements, not necessarily going insanely hard. So like I'd say a pretty common form of training nowadays is like 3 days on, 1 day off.
Yeah.
So it's training 5-6 days a week.
Yeah. For sure.
For the less into it people, I'd say like 3-4 times a week. But for like the bodybuilding side of it, 5-6.
Hitting everything twice a week.
Hitting everything twice a week, doing optimal movements, doing really emphasizing the stretch and the declines of the movements.
That was definitely a thing though they did back in the days too. Well, I'll let you continue.
Something else that is super important is people really emphasize like feeling the movements and not ego lifting. That's like a super big term, like
Yeah.
kind of thrown around nowadays. Because like if you look at pictures of like or training videos of Arnold, you probably would say nowadays that he's probably ego lifting a little bit.
Yeah.
Throwing his weights around.
Especially on cheat curls.
Yes. But I mean, you look at Arnold and he's just has one of the best physiques of all time.
Yeah. Going into cheat curls real quick, why I say that is, so Arnold would do his last few reps as a cheat, so he'd use momentum to basically get the weight up to stimulate the bicep just a little bit more. Yes, he's using momentum, so you might not feel it as much in the bicep, but it's still getting the weight up. It's working the muscle group. And he was a big proponent of that, the cheat curls, to really push it. Even if it looked like, he was not doing strict form. So he was a big proponent of that. That's just one that came to mind for sure.
Also not doing like super heavy weight nowadays. Bodybuilding has never been a huge sport of lifting insanely heavy. There's a couple guys that do train heavier, but I mean, I'd probably say for the most part, it's not the heaviest training sport.
There's still guys putting up good numbers, but
Yo,
it's
100%.
not the ultimate thing.
It's
we
not
are
the ultimate
chasing.
goal.
Yeah.
But like if you look at videos of guys that used to train, I'd probably say that this kind of counts more for the guys training in the 90s, is they'd be deadlifting, squatting, even bench pressing with like powerlifting number weights. And
Yeah,
then
like a Ronnie Coleman famous video.
yeah,
Of him
so then
squatting.
you'll look at
800
videos
pounds.
of guys now, and they're not putting up like insane numbers. Like you'll probably go to your gym, your everyday commercial gym, and there will be people putting up bigger numbers than
Who
professional
are you talking
bodybuilders.
about in the modern bodybuilding? That's
Like C-Bone,
yeah.
like Chris Bumstead, who's the probably the best bodybuilder in the world right now. I mean, he's retired at the moment, but he just retired. He's in classic physique, which does kind of go after more of that V-taper, more classical shape. But I think in an interview, he was asked his bench PR, and it was like 365.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a very good number. But like when you think of like bodybuilders, like there's training clips of people putting up like 5-6 plates.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's got the chest like that, so who really cares what the bench is just a number if you can get it to look that good,
And he doesn't even bench.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what I'm talking about, like with like modern bodybuilding and like optimal movements, is like nowadays people kind of stray away from your compound movements. Your compound movements are your squatting, your benching, and your deadlifting. So I'm on a bodybuilding program right now. I just started working with a bodybuilding coach, and I don't do any of those movements.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's
because
more about
like-
isolation?
So it's more about isolation. So it's like when you could do a squat, so your squat pretty much works your whole legs. You can kind of do variations to work more hamstrings, more glutes, or more quads. But it's like the kind of thinking behind it is like, instead of doing a squat really hard, you could do... And you, instead of doing a squat and working all three muscles at the same time, like kind of well, you could do a leg extension which kills your quads. You could do a hamstring curl, which kills your hamstrings, and you could do maybe a hip press or
Leg press or something.
leg press, some type of glute activated exercise. So it's like hitting all the muscles individually, working on isolation, and emphasizing on stuff like deep stretches and controlling the eccentric. So it's like, I'd say that's a big part of like modern bodybuilding.
More isolation.
You'll see a lot of more isolation stuff, more slow and eccentric movements.
Yeah.
Like you won't see people throwing around weight anymore, I guess.
Well, I think there's still people out there to do that. It's just maybe you don't see it or it's not documented.
But I think honestly, while there's been like studies that show that the type of bodybuilding people are doing nowadays is more optimal, you could argue that it's like people then had better physiques.
I think to the public eye, back in the golden era, was more aesthetically pleasing, like a Greek god, like sculpted, massed with muscle, vascularity, all that stuff. Now it's like most people are like, oh, it's too big, you know, or too bulky or whatever. So I think the aesthetic side of things, like, you know, golden era looks better in my eyes.
Yeah. I think that as well. A big difference between the generations is like how like the drugs and the dosages changed. So currently people are using much more drugs and much more PEDs than they did back then. That's resulting in much bigger people. So you look at bodybuilders today, they're much heavier and much bigger than golden era bodybuilders because they, one, didn't know as much about steroids back then, and they just weren't dosing as high.
Yeah. Well, the technology difference too. And then just the advancement in medicine compared to the 70s compared to now, it's crazy.
So the PEDs have a lot to do with it. The aesthetics and the mass, I mean, you could put that into there too. It's like that has something to do with it as well. Like the more PEDs they have, the bigger people get. And that's the difference between the dosages.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything with that. Like I think just the pure evolution of science and how it's changed so much from like the golden era to now. It's just, you know, they didn't know as much back then. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have Instagram. They didn't have anything access to that to like figure out how to dose more. They didn't even think about it. They just kind of, they were in their like their inner circle. It pretty much seemed like, you know, and the bodybuilders that is, and they knew what worked best and they stuck with that. And obviously over time things evolve and things change. So, you know, and technology came in more to play with it. So,
I think a big part of all of this is like the influence that they bring on their generation. So it's like if you look at the popular like figureheads of all the generations, so it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a household name. Like everybody know who that is. And he's probably, even though he was one of the first guys, he probably still is the most popular bodybuilder of all time. Like no doubt. But it's like now with social media, there's a little bit more of an uprising in the popularity of some of these people as they get in their training philosophies. So it's like now you'll see guys like who's really big right now. Like Chris Bumstead's really big just based off social media, and he's kind of brought a sense of community back to bodybuilding. Even guys that just preach aesthetics, like David Lade is super big. Kind of the more like aesthetic guys. Like the David Lade type of guys. Your Alex Eubanks. So it's a big culture shift, and those guys are kind of bringing back more of a golden era physique. But it's you know, just the influence that each generation brings and everything that comes along with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Arnold's legacy, and a lot of people, you know, really love Ronnie Coleman, of course. You know, there's other fans of other bodybuilders, but I'm just bringing up those two. Like, their legacy it's going to live on for many, many years. You know, once they pass, they'll still live on, and the impact that they left on the sport. Arnold especially, because, I mean, he brought the sport to the mainstream, essentially, doing pumping iron and stuff like that. Made people more aware of it. I think the big thing, too, that he did was just changing the stereotypes about it, too. Because I remember seeing, like, old interviews from the 70s, like, roughly when the pumping iron was coming out, which was it, I think it was in 77 when that came out, because it was based on the 75 season, when because he retired in 74, came back in 75 just to film pumping iron. But anyways, there's a lot of people like saying like, oh, bodybuilders, you know, or this and that, and like, you know, the negative stereotypes towards it, because like they never really seen anything like that. And like most men didn't, like average men were not chasing that type of physique. They were like kind of outcasted or whatever, because it's like, why do I want to look that big? Which is funny to say now, because like I feel like most people are chasing after that. most guys in that sense. But yeah, he's really changed the whole spectrum of it back, and that was just crazy. He did all that, in the
Yeah.
70s.
So diving into a new segment, I know me and Eric have been kind of planning this out, and we have multiple ideas for stuff coming like this in the future, but we want to give you guys, the viewers, a little insight on like healthy snacks and healthy alternatives. So
Very
this
important.
episode, we're going to start with protein bars. All right, so let's get into reviewing these protein bars. First off, what do you want to go with? So going over prices really quick, I'll do this really quick. Coming in at the cheapest bar is the one Hershey's bar. We have 4 bars today, which comes out to $2 flat a bar. Then the Built bar, the Built Puff bar, and the Bear Bells bar are both about $2.15 a bar. And then the most expensive one is the David bar, which comes out to over $3 a bar.
It's crazy.
Which is very expensive. Okay, let's go cheapest to most expensive.
Might as well, yeah.
Might as
Let's
well.
do it.
So the macros on the Hershey's One bar, or the one Hershey's bar, 230 calories, 9 grams of fat, 25 carbs, 3 grams of sugar, and 18 grams of protein. What are your initial reactions to that before we taste this bar?
It's kind of middle of the road.
It is kind of middle of the road. I don't love how high the carbs are and how high the sugar is. The sugar's not
I've seen
super
worse
high, but
in sugar, but
Yeah, I've seen
it's
worse.
just middle of the road. It's kind of standard.
calories
nothing
are kind of high.
crazy.
It's kind of a mid bar. You know.
Probably the main thing it has going for is the Hershey's taste.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
the taste is probably gonna be pretty good. So how do you want to do this? Just split it in half.
Might as well split it, yeah. All right, here we go.
It's pretty good. Initial taste is pretty good, and like as many of you probably know, like protein bars do not taste the best. But I could easily put one of these down.
Yeah,
Is this
I
your
like
first?
the taste.
Yeah. This isn't my first time having this.
This is my first time having the Hershey one. I've had a one bar before. I like the glazed donut. I think it's that flavor. I know it's donut.
Yeah,
something.
that one's pretty good. Pretty good.
I like it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna finish the whole thing, but we got a lot of protein bars.
We do.
You gotta think about that. But the fact that you're still eating, it's pretty good sign.
I like the little chocolate chips in it.
Taste and the texture are pretty good. Would definitely recommend the taste those. Macros are okay.
Yeah, not bad, not great.
Yeah. The next bar is the Built Puff bar. Macros on this are 160 grams calories, 3 grams of fat, 19 carbs, and 15 grams of protein, but 8 grams of sugar.
So lowest in protein, probably of all these 4.
Lowest in protein. Lowest in protein, highest in sugar. It's actually got more sugar than it has fat. It's low fat, I will say that. It has collagen, which is a good touch. Let's see what kind of protein they're using.
It's kind of small too, I noticed.
Collagen protein blend, whey protein isolate, which is actually pretty good. Let me see what kind of protein. Do you see the Hershey's One wrapper?
No, I don't know. Oh.
Because that matters too. I could dive into types of proteins, but I mean, in terms of eating. So yeah, the Hershey's One bar uses milk proteins, and this uses collagen protein isolates, which is
That's definitely a plus.
definitely a plus because so pretty much all I'm saying with that is this is going to give you more of the benefits of the protein.
Yeah, as opposed to milk proteins.
Yeah. It's gonna
That's probably why it tastes so like chocolatey.
Yeah.
I mean, not chocolate because it's
Split this up. Ooh,
cookies and cream. Well, it's got some filling.
it's got
in
some filling. It's like a Rocky Road,
it. Yeah.
the ice cream bar. Oh,
Chewy.
this one's pretty good tasting. Mm-hmm. This might be the best. This is better. Hey, this tastes like a candy bar.
It does. Crazy. How much sugar is in it? 8?
8 grams. You can definitely tell there's more sugar.
Yeah, that's good.
That one's pretty easy to put down. I would probably put those tied in terms of like which one I'd rather buy.
Cookie dough chunk. Okay, that's the
Wouldn't you?
flavor.
Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, that's very close. I mean, the thing is, this has collagen in it. It's whey protein, so actually, I'll probably give it like a little edge over the one
Yeah.
bar.
Yeah, I
Just for
probably
that.
would too. Because like the
It
8
is
grams
less
of
protein.
sugar compared to like 3 grams is 5 grams of sugar. It's really not that much, like in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I definitely say it's a benefit. The only caveat is online. It looked like you can only buy these in bulk. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but pretty good. Next is the Bear Bells bar. Chocolate dough. I have never had this flavor.
I think I've only had cookies and cream. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
macros are looking really good on the Bear Bells bar. 7 grams of fat, 20 carbs, 1 gram of sugar,
Wow,
and 20 grams of protein.
that's pretty good.
So the carbs and the protein are equal, which is always a good sign.
What about calories?
Also a good 200.
Okay.
Also a good rule of thumb is if you add a 0 to the end of the protein total, and if it's the same or more than the calories amount, it is considered a pretty high protein bar, which this does match that, and the other 2 bars did not. The ingredients are looking okay. Besides, they use a lot of they use sunflower oil, soy protein isolate, which is not great for you, cocoa butter, artificial flavors, milk.
Doesn't sound so good when you lift it.
Milk proteins,
Milk protein.
whey protein isolate, and whey protein concentrate. So they're mixing proteins, which is not great either. It's a way to cut costs.
Yeah.
But let's give it a taste test. Macros are great, but the ingredients are not. Ooh,
Another filling one.
it's got a filling too. There you go. This one again tastes really good.
Yeah, it's good in taste.
It's okay. It's got a
Nothing
weird aftertaste.
crazy.
It kind of just tastes like a protein bar, honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything really crazy.
I don't know if this would be my buy. I'm
Number
just-
1 right now.
Yeah, the Built Puff Bar is my number 1 too.
Especially that has whey protein.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the Bear Bells. My initial, the initial taste was really good. Because I think at first it was just like all chocolate. And then like the weird protein taste kind of started to linger. All right. I'm going to stop chewing really quick.
Last but not least, David Bar.
Last but not least, sorry, the David Bar. The David Bar, by far the best macro-wise. It's got 150 calories for 2 grams of fat, 13 carbs, 0 grams of sugar, and an astounding 28 grams of protein.
I mean, I
It's
haven't read
like
anything that
slightly
close.
sus how they do that.
Yeah.
Like that
Are
is
they doing it that much? Like, why don't the other
insane.
companies do that? I don't know if it's a funding thing or what.
So they use egg white. It looks like in the ingredients. Looking at
That
the
makes
ingredients, more seed oils, but they're not as bad. They do use natural flavors. Like this is a cinnamon roll flavored bar. And it does show in the ingredients list that they do use cinnamon, salt, and cocoa powder to flavor the bar, which is a good sign. Cinnamon from a bodybuilding point of view is cinnamon's actually pretty good for your gains.
For the gains.
Milk protein isolate and collagen whey protein concentrate for the protein, along with egg whites. So this one,
undoubtedly number one as far as macros
yes, but this bar does cost almost $3 a bar, more than $3 a bar, which is very high. Ooh, this one's kind of got a weird.
go. I think it's the
consistency.
biggest bar too. It looks like
It is the biggest bar.
All right, let's give this a try.
You can definitely taste the cinnamon right off the
No,
bat.
and it goes away pretty quick. Not bad.
It's not bad. It definitely tastes like a protein bar. Well, if you know what I mean, what I'm saying. But it's not like terrible. Like I would definitely eat one of these. I actually do eat David bars as my protein bar of choice, and I will say there's a number of problems with like heat. If they're like even remotely warm, they like melt in your hand, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah. Very soft.
And
Texture.
a lot of the flavors, I will say, unfortunately, are disgusting. This is a pretty good flavor. I've actually never had this one before because this flavor just released, but this is a good flavor, and the cake batter one is good. But the other David bars that I've tried are
Which
gross.
ones are bad? Flavor-wise?
The chocolate chip one's bad. The peanut butter is bad.
Probably really dry,
Yeah,
lacking
they
flavor.
don't really taste good. But this tastes good, and the macros are just insane. So, out of all of these, which one price including, which bar are you buying?
That's tough. Because they only have like pros and
They all have pros and cons. I'd say the pro of the what would you give a pro out of all these, and a con?
that they all have.
I would say a pro of the Hershey's bar is the price is good, and the taste isn't bad.
It doesn't really do anything special.
If you need one of those, like I would definitely pick it up, but it's not. I wouldn't buy it over any of these.
Yeah. Built Puff, I think the thing that stuck out to me with that one is the whey isolate. That one was really, I didn't know that. And it has collagen too, which is cool.
Yeah. So the Built Puff bar, I would probably rank it David 1,
Yeah. I think David's one, even with the price included.
Built Puff 2. I put Hershey's 3, Bearbell 4.
Wow, Bearbell 4, huh?
I didn't like the Bearbell one. I thought it was nasty.
So you're going off the taste then.
Like I would not enjoy finishing one of those. And it's only got 2 grams more protein than the Hershey's bar does.
So you're going more for like the taste rather than performance.
Not even, because I mean protein.
When you're comparing those, because obviously like David.
When I'm like those two, yes, because the macros aren't like much different. But like the Built Bar, even though it's got the least amount of protein, like you said, the whey isolate's huge, the collagen's huge, and the taste is really, really good on those.
Yeah.
And despite the taste, I mean the David bars are just super. Like the macros are just insane. Like
Yeah. David's
I've never
definitely one
seen.
for me.
I've never seen a bar that can do that.
Yeah. the 28 grams is a stout number with 0 sugar.
Yeah.
Like usually you will see ones that have that, but they have like 30 grams of sugar. You know,
Like kind of to put it in comparison, like one serving of chicken is 25 grams of protein. So the David bar has more protein than a serving of chicken, which is kind of
mainly
crazy
because
to
of the
think
egg
about.
whites. I think the egg whites is really what helps out.
Yeah.
To keep it lean too, with like little fat
Yes.
and carbs.
And it doesn't really hurt the taste that much on that bar.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones you just have to try it to know they're not good.
Oh, the flavors are saying you're David?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I would say David's one.
It's like that consistency, but like super salty.
I would say David 1, Built Puff 2. I'm almost gonna agree with you. I think I like the Hershey's taste better than the Bear Bell one. But like stats wise, Bear Bell's a little bit better than the Hershey's.
But it's like so slight to where I'm willing to put it at 4.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think I'm kind of there with you on that because
Yeah.
like they're so close. It's like they can really be interchanged. It's not like we're comparing this to David or something. Like the David is head and shoulders stats wise better than that.
Yeah. Let us know your guys' reaction in the comment section, or you can DM us on Instagram. If you guys know any protein bars that you would like us to try. I know me and Eric have talked about, because we really like doing this kind of review sort of thing. We've talked about doing like ready to drink protein shakes, energy drinks, pre-workouts.
We can have too much of pre-workouts. We'll be having too
Diet
much caffeine.
sodas. We've talked about that too.
Yeah.
Just there's like a plethora of things we could do. So yeah, we really appreciate you guys watching the video. That was a super fun video to make. And thank you guys. See
Thank
ya.
you.